Hey guys, I just wanted to show you all the work that went into this video. I had like footage from 2015 and just a lot of trading clips in here that I had to edit. And so if you guys want to see quality videos like this in the future, consider subscribing. I mean, I do put a lot of work into my videos. So I hope you appreciate it.
Hey guys, Goobear here. So I've been trading ever since 2012 and spent over 2,000 hours here. In this video, I will give trading tips and also showcase how I made 1 million TRO. For starters, I'd like to introduce the idea that we are in the endgame era of trading. In 2013, we were in the golden age of trading, where trades were very active with players, TRO circulated in the economy, and there was no inflation, no macros, and items were sought out because they were just simply cool. Then we hit the middle age in 2018, where overpowered items were released but barely affected the trading market because it costed so much TRO. During the Middle Age, macros and TRO inflation was becoming an issue, but items were still generally available to anyone who just wanted to dig like 100k TRO or so. In the endgame era, more overpowered items were released, macros created the worst inflation that we've ever seen, and no longer could the everyday player afford to dig for the items that they wanted. This led to a massive shift in the trade community, mainly because there was no TRO circulating in the market because no players dig anymore. Trades is dead because we have less of a player base, and now only the people who spar, PvP, or base trade for items in order to get an advantage when fighting other players. So status, rarity, coolness of an item doesn't really matter anymore. In 2024, what really matters is the item's usefulness in combat. The safe but long way to trade. My first trading tip is not to sit on your TRO. Almost every item raises in value with time, so make investments by buying items. Whether it be by rarity, usefulness, or simply just inflation, your items do gain value over time. For example, I've included clips in the background that showcase the price and year I bought these items and sold them for. With that said, don't invest in bad items that decrease in value over time. Items such as stun gun, chaplain dagger, plasma toolkits, etc. These items can always be purchased from their respective shops, so there will always be a higher supply of them as time goes on. So I recommend investing in items that are available only for limited times or have useful abilities and look cool. A clear example is Super Fart. It is a rare, useless toy, but it is cool and a fun item to use. I bought it for 25k in 2019 and sold it for 120k in 2023. Clover is a super limited item and it looks cool, but it's useless. I bought it for 6k in 2019 and it raised to 21k in 2023. If you really want to make profit, get items with abilities. I bought Blood Trident in 2023 for roughly 40k and it rose to 75k in 3 months. Really, I panic sold this item because I thought the price was going to drop soon, but unfortunately for me, the item kept raising and it is currently 150k. But as you can see, I have made all my TRO from the long-term investments and it's paid off incredibly. With long-term investments, be careful of hoards. Sometimes you really want an item and grind super hard for it just for the price to drop a couple of weeks after buying it. This is because some rich face head bought almost all of the items and is creating an artificial scarcity. So they buy all of the items super cheap, then sell them at a higher price, but once all of the items hit the market, the price plummets because of the high supply. This happened to me with Fish Slap. Back in 2019, I bought Fish Slap for 18k, but then its hoard dropped and the price was at 12k for 2 years. In this situation, I would just hold on to the item and wait for it to raise again, since it is such a big TRO loss. I ended up selling Fish Slap for 17k in 2023, losing a bit of TRO. Lastly, you can make a lot of profit hoarding items, but I have never done it, so I don't really have much to say here. One thing to avoid is to hold on to items for too long. I bought my umbrella for 80k in 2016 and it raised to 1 million in 2020. But to be honest, I was sort of stupid for not selling it back then, but I kept thinking that the price would raise infinitely. And now the price dropped to 500k, but even then I had to sell it for super low at 450k because no one buys umbrellas anymore. The price dropped because umbrellas aren't useful for fighting, and one guy panic sold at 480k, so I pretty much had to sell mine at like 450k. Super sad to be honest, but with all that, I bought Ryoamas for 75k in 2024, and they've raised to 1.1 mil in like 3 months. So I ended up making all my profit back, and I'm really happy where I'm at. The fast way but risky way to trade. I would not recommend this method for newer players. You'll almost always lose TRO here. This is specifically for mid-level players that have like 100k TRO or more to play with. Short-term opportunities can arise when a hoard drops. You can try to buy the item at the lowest point, but the problem is you don't know if the item will further drop or if the item will even rise again. Sometimes it takes years for the item to rise again, like my Fish Slap example. Another example is when you know an item is lowering in price, but the majority of the public doesn't know. So recently, the Tanuki toy was at an all-time high of 25k tro. I noticed the item's price rapidly dropping to 18k, so I sold mine. Then I found out a horde dropped and the guy who dropped it. I bought a Tanuki from him for 13k. Then I was able to sell it the same day for 18k tro to someone who didn't know the price changed. Flipping is also a short-term investment where you can buy an item for slightly cheaper and sell for slightly higher. For example, I bought Karafuru Katana for 62k and sold it at 66k. This is extremely risky and I don't recommend doing this, especially because you'll typically only profit like 1k tro or even just lose tro. You can always flip sellables or tools though, like shovels or peels. You have to be able to predict when those prices will rise and fall. What I do is I buy the sellables before Christmas at like a 1:6 ratio. Then when Christmas comes, everyone wants to buy sellables to buy presents and the ratio turns to 1:4. This is when I sell. Another thing is to always buy shovels or peels when they are cheap. This is because sometimes there are double jobs and people panic to buy shovels or peels during that time. This is when you sell your tools at a higher price. Here I bought the shovels for 1 to 2.5 and sold them for crazy prices like 1 to 4 and 1 to 5. Shovels and peels are decent investments because you can always use them or just sell them for the same price you bought them for. Another investment is when holiday shops release. When the shop just releases, the items are sold overpriced, but then very quickly they drop to their lowest price they will ever be because every owner panic sells it. This is due to the high supply of the item. For example, during the Spring Butterfly event, the Gilded Emperor staff sold for 30k in the first few hours of release, but then rapidly one guy panic sold for 25k, then another for 20, and then the masses sold for 10k, and the lowest the item drop was 6k. You want to buy these limited items around this sweet spot. Then over some time, the item will rise and you can sell them. My next tip is don't obsess over 100 or 1000 tro. I see way too many people trying to flip items and they spend 6 hours selling just to profit 500 tro. Like remember, you can always dig 1k tro in a couple of hours, or even make 4k growlets in an hour at Veteran Pizzas. So think about the bigger picture and don't waste all of your time in trades. Next, don't be afraid to lose a bit of tro. Sometimes luck isn't on our side and we have to just accept our losses, like my fish slap example. The value of your items can sometimes take years to increase, so it's better to sell bad investments a bit cheaper and buy better investments. But otherwise, if you really want to wait, you could. If you ever have a bad item that is hard to sell, you can couple that item with something else to sell it quicker. For example, this guy here wanted to buy my burrito trash pick that really only sold for like 4k tro, but I told him that he could only buy it if he bought my burrito slap too. At the time, burrito slap was only like 1000 tro, so I milked him another 1k tro because I coupled these items together. Similarly, if you have an item that is hard to sell like my Chaplain dagger, you can couple it with tro or other items to incentivize the buyer to buy your hard to sell item too, like when I bought Ryuama's. So those are all my tips for trading. I'm finally a millionaire, and stay broke, you filthy peasants. Peace.